This is the Post Incorporated. Let's get right into the news. All right. So we got Big Meech and Terry. Now, Terry supposedly is falling back from Big Meech ever since he came home. There's been rumors circulating for a long time that Meech paperwork isn't so good, or even the actions he was taking wasn't so good. And this all started around, this all came out around 2015. A guy named Cuffy, as we know, he had gotten jammed up in 2014. And around 2015 to 2018, he started to realize in discovery by his lawyers that, the confidential informant in his case happened to be Meech's assistant, Tammy Cowens. This is the woman who has his life rights. We all know this. Has his life rights, sold it to 50 Cent, and that's what put them all in business together, right? Now, basically, that would make someone want to fall back. He already didn't like his brother, right? He already didn't like his brother because his brother, and let's start from back then. His brother brought a lot of heat onto the family. Big Meech, when he set up BMF in Atlanta, that was the end of everything they were doing. Big Meech was hell-bent on getting into music and living that celebrity lifestyle instead of just making millions of dollars. And what that required him to do was become really flashy. And this is around, a lot of people talk about this time where Terry and Big Meech fell out. Like, it was like right around the early 2000s. They fell out because, and they still had to do business together because their whole network is together, but they just didn't, they talked through people and they didn't really get along anymore, and then Terry started, cutting the work that he was giving to Meech because he handled Terry is obviously the brains to the operation. I always thought, because it was painted this way through Meech being so vocal, that Terry was the downfall of their whole operation because he talked on the phone a lot. But there would have been no tap on his phone if Big Meech didn't bring all this heat on them. If you think about it. Big Meech put up billboards in Atlanta. We don't have to go through it step by step how it happened. He put up billboards in Atlanta. He was in the club every night, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. He expanded his crew so big that he didn't even really know everybody and couldn't control everybody. And then that's how you get snitches. And but the biggest snitch is Doc, which they both used. They both used him for bookkeeping. Doc. But anyways, you had O-Dog and other people that snitched that connected the dots to Doc. So it's like the whole thing's very messy. But they already had been on the radar, but once they started being loud about it, like Big Meech was putting up billboards in Atlanta with himself on the billboard. He was on the billboard. You're dealing drugs, right? And you're on the billboard. It doesn't make any sense. If you were going to move into music, which a lot of people do, there's certain labels out there. I'm not going to put them, I'm not going to say their names, but there's a lot of labels out there that started with a guy who had drug money and he wanted to go legit. And a lot of people successfully did it. But Big Meech did it the wrong way. He was hustling while he was trying to do it. He should have shut down everything and maybe got money from Terry or something and then didn't go about it the same way he did. Like, do it more strategically where you're hiring people that know how to get into the music business, with, now you can't just have your artist in a Rolls Royce and do a song with Fabulous and you're in the music business. You got to generate an interest in the artist, and then to see if the artist is even interesting. Like Blue Da Vinci, no offense. I mean, I like some of his songs, but I don't know if he was the best artist to go with. Like Jeezy would have been a better look, and they just didn't sign him right away. You know, they just kind of like supported him. He was doing his own thing, and then they like supported him, and he was down with them, and he quickly got a deal instead of like signing with Big Meech. You know, like he made sure to not sign with Big Meech or even go near that situation to where they could sign him, because he knew like if Big Meech got locked up, it's over. You know, so you don't want to go that route. Anyways, all this heat brought on the feds, and then a shooting happened, and a couple shootings actually happened, and it wasn't Big Meech doing them, but it was people around him, and he was actually blamed for the Wolf shooting. That's Diddy's bodyguard, and that was done over a girl that was partying with Meech. See, the partying factor comes in where she was partying with Meech. He didn't like that. He came over and tried to pull her out. Meech got involved, got in the middle of it. Instead of letting her go with him, he got involved and said, "Nah, you ain't gonna drag her out of here." And a shooting happened outside, and now he had a court case where he did eventually get off, but he had house arrest. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, So as they got snitches, like, once they caught O-Dog and his partner moving something, they made statements and linked them to Doc. Doc got hemmed up for selling weight. And I think it was also a shooting that happened with some guys that tried to steal from his house. Cops came and did an investigation, found more work or something like that. And then he started spilling the beans. And he had books of how they washed the money and transportation amounts, like just he might as well have just gone down to the precinct and dropped off the blueprint for everything. And eventually they got wiretaps on Terry, and they caught him talking about a lot of stuff, and they linked everything together and made a criminal conspiracy case, and they went to jail. And Big Meech used to try to paint it like, "Oh, my brother talking on that phone got us jammed up, man." Nah, you were flashy. You were advertising, basically, "Come arrest me. Hey, look at what I'm driving." You had nothing added up, Like, he's driving around in Rolls Royces. He's wearing millions of dollars worth of jewelry. He has all these houses. But, like, what do you do for a living? Oh, you run a car rental business? That doesn't add up. I don't get why people move like that. Like, if you're doing something that's illegitimate, don't put a advertisement on yourself, to get arrested. So this guy goes to jail. Blue Da Vinci hooks up Tammy Cowens, which is his ex-girlfriend, with Meech to do his day-to-day. And somehow she ends up becoming a confidential informant. She knows to go to this guy who actually led an investigation against Terry and the whole Big Meech organization. His name was Jack Harvey. He was like a head of the DEA. He was like the DEA agent in charge. She knew to go to him, and she was setting up her current boyfriend, T. White, for money laundering. And she said she feared that she would get caught up in it because he was using her bank accounts. And she ends up getting him arrested somehow. Like, somehow she finds the exact agent that handled the Big Meech case, right? And think about it. Like, that's crazy, right? Then he retires, and after that, she gets transferred to a guy named Cromer, and she ends up somehow, setting up so she set up, like, she started becoming like an intermediary for drug deals all of a sudden, and Meech would put her in touch with Cuffy because Cuffy was an old friend of his. And first they started off like trying to sell the movie rights to the BMF movie, which for some reason Meech trusted her with his life rights and power of attorney instead of his mom or his baby mom. It was this woman that he barely knew, and Cuffy was going to write a movie because he knew MC Hammer's guy, which was in TV, and he was like, yo, we can get it written and shop it. And eventually this turns into drugs, where it's like Meech hooks up this guy named Suarez that he met in jail in 2006 in Michigan while he was awaiting trial. That guy ended up beating his case and stayed in touch with Meech, and Meech has him call Tammy's phone and then hooks him up with Cuffy somehow, and then they get arrested eventually. There's a lot more to it, and I can read through that another day, but make it make sense because the link is Big Meech, right? They wouldn't even know Tammy if Big Meech didn't say, hey, yo, contact Tammy. That means you would get a conspiracy charge and 10 years added on. Anyone can make sense of this. Cuffy quickly made sense of this once his team did a Frank hearing and got discovery, and they were able to cross-examine CIs and DEA agents about his charges, and it quickly just doesn't add up. Why doesn't Meech have any additional time? In fact, he got out a little earlier. There's nothing stating that he did anything to get out earlier, but he did get out. For some of the part of him getting out earlier was due to change in laws and stuff like that. That's like 5 years off. Then you get another 2 years on top of that, and it was like, I don't know. Blue Da Vinci was right this whole time. He was calling out that Meech was not right since 2018. He was doing interviews, and he was right about it. And I doubted him, and a lot of other people doubted him, So now that Big Meech is out, okay, let's just go forward to that because we don't have to get into too much detail with everything else. He gets rid of Tammy Cowens, who has his life rights, and he was selling her on this dream that they were going to have this business together. I don't think it was a love dream. It was more of a business venture. Like, you're my business partner. We're going to do this together. He got rid of her and says, you're not good for business. And then he challenges 50 Cent, who he wrote letters to from jail talking about nobody else. All the entertainers, I put money in their pockets in the past that none of them spoke up for me or helped me become legitimate or helped me while I was in jail. You're the only one to take my life story, get it greenlit, which took 4 years to get greenlit. And then on top of it all, you went above and beyond and gave my son a career. We owe you everything, and if there's anything you ever need, let us know. He wrote a letter from jail that said exactly this. Then he comes out and asked for more from 50 Cent after his family made millions of dollars, right? He wants more of a role. He kind of wants to take back his life rights and control of his life story, right, through BMF. And it just doesn't work like that. You sold him to 50 Cent. He owns your life rights. So 50 was like, nah, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do spinoffs. I'm going to involve you more as you learn with me. I'm going to teach you. We're going to do documentaries. We'll help set you up with a merch deal. All of these things, right? And yet, he still throws a hissy fit because he was also mad that 50 Cent didn't drop him any money. He's paid you millions of dollars. He doesn't have to give you money. He doesn't really owe you anything. And takes a picture with Rick Ross, and Rick Ross drops him off like 40 bands, right? And then he sets up this concert. Rick Ross probably plugged him with some promoters, and they got all these artists to agree to do it for little to nothing, and some of them backed out after 50 Cent had to expose Meech after Tammy Cowens came to him to 50 and said, hey, he just got rid of me, and this is what he's up to right now. And 50 was like, oh, okay. And then he saw the picture with Ross, and it was confirmed. And it was like, okay, this guy is this. This guy was involved in this and this and this. Tammy Cowens is going to tell it in her documentary. And artists started pulling out of the concert. I don't know if it was because of that or it was because they realized, hey, managers were probably like, yeah, we don't get any money from this. Like, if you're doing this show that you don't even know Big Meech, you don't owe him anything. You're doing a concert for free. For what? It's not even a benefit concert. It's just for his pockets. It's like, it doesn't make sense. So that show got canceled. And that's the end of him and his credibility in the music business, right there. 50 Cent threatened to cancel the show. And Little Meech has taken a stance too and also taken pictures with Rick Ross. So the ultimate move I see here for 50 Cent, which I could see definitely happening, is that he goes to Southwest T, who also had his own funny stuff, but he's not deep in business with Southwest T. So Southwest T took a picture with Supreme Son. This is the guy who tried to kill 50 Cent, allegedly. And then also was throwing a hissy fit about not making as much as Little Meech off the show. But it is what it is, But say you went to Southwest T and he was like, hey, let me buy your life rights and let's change the direction of the BMF show. Now, that would be something. If he changed the direction of the BMF show, he could still tell the BMF part. But he could also show the split between Meech and Terry and show what Terry was doing and Meech, and you'd probably have to replace Little Meech because he's kind of disloyal, right? And you could tell the story from that into going to jail and then tell the part where Big Meech, Tammy, Southwest T, you could tell a whole thing. You could do a whole thing on that. That could stretch it out another 3-4 seasons. And I think that's something that could happen. We'll have to see. But I cannot believe that Big Meech threw everything away for a temper tantrum. Like, he's thinking his leverage is way more than it is. Like, the only reason people would have cared anyways if he came out, but they care even more because it's a successful TV show. If he came out now, there's no people don't. There's a million drug stories out there. There's a million drug scripts out there. I've seen them. Okay, I used to deal with different production companies. There's tons of scripts out there. That Tupac script had been written for years. It went through 3 different production companies. I remember one of the guys that got it, he says, and they finally greenlit it and made it happen. But these stories exist. Like, The Wolf of Wall Street took, I think, 4 years to greenlight. Like, these things take time. So if it wasn't this story, it would be another, You have to have the right people shopping it and able to greenlight it. The BMF series is interesting, but 50's a great marketing machine, and they wouldn't have been able to market it the same way 50 did unless you had someone like Denzel Washington attached to it or something. I mean, it's a crazy situation. I could see Southwest T maybe calling his brother out, like, I can't be affiliated with this, especially after a Tammy Cowens documentary comes out. He might have to denounce his brother. I mean, it's just shameful if that's the truth. But anyways, we'll have to see. Rick Ross successfully took down BMF, and he successfully got back at 50 Cent. I mean, he got a big show canceled that 50's been working on for 8 years. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about all this. It's a spooky situation. 50 Cent just got through a whole weekend of tormenting Little Meech and Big Meech he set up 3 back-to-back walkthroughs in Miami. And they're in Miami. I wonder if he went to Little Meech's store. Little Meech opened a store in Miami recently. Anyways, I will check you guys in the next one. Peace. Smash that like button and subscribe for me.